Justin Robert Young podcast brought to you as always by PayJuryDaily.com. Today live from the United Club. Gentlemen, and welcome to the JuRY Daily Show. I am talking to you live from the bar at the United Club in Denver's International Airport. I'm looking over to my wife, who's sitting next to me playing Pokemon, because she's going to be involved in the story that we're going to tell. The story of our morning. We're on our way to DragonCon, by the way. Thank you to everybody who's already tweeted about coming to see the shows. This weekend is going to be great. The big day, if you really only want to get a day pass, is Sunday, 5:30 at the Galleria 6 in the Hilton. We are doing politics, and the last night attack at DragonCon will take place at 10 p.m. in the Marriott A601 and 602. But to get there, we had to take these flights. We will take the second flight. But this is the first one to Denver, our connection. And I turn it over to my wife now. How would you describe our differing opinions in when to get to the airport?
Justin likes to think of himself as a professional traveler who, you know, when he gets to the airport, like when he's traveling solo, at least, he's getting on like right before the door closes. Like the last possible moments that he could get on that plane before they shut the door. The last possible moments to drop off the baggage. Like you just kind of like roll on. He will get up as late as possible, especially if it's in the morning, like to avoid getting on the plane to the last possible moment. I, on the other hand, as a responsible adult, if I get anxious if I am not at the airport, usually an hour before boarding time. I think I've gotten a little bit better about it, but I have to be there early. I have to be one of the first ones on the plane and sit down. I have to have my baggage in. Like otherwise, I just become an anxious mess.
So that's 80% true. I think really the only part that I would disagree with is that I know how to get on flights. I know what the bag cutoffs are. I know because it was my job. So I don't fancy myself a professional traveler. I was a professional traveler. However, because I prefer when you're flying out of SFO, you have to take the first flights out if you're flying for business because fog delays will ruin your entire life otherwise. And when you're flying at anywhere between 4:30 and 6:30 in the morning on a regular basis, you are, you have to get your sleep where you can. My wife is leaving. Oh, no, she's over here. And now she's back over here. Okay. So this let's go back to last night because I don't think there's any disputes of the facts of what happened last night. I have, when I travel with you, made the decision that I'm not going to say when we're going to go to the airport because I will always pick a later time. You will always pick an earlier time. I don't care when I get up. That's just going to be what it is. So I always leave it up to you. So I asked you last night, as I asked before all of our trips, when would you like to get up to go to the airport?
And I'm like thinking, great, he's asking. But I know that if I tell him to choose, he's going to pick the latest possible time he thinks he can leave to get on the plane. So Justin, I don't know. What time do you think we should leave, dearest husband?
Knowing that my opinion is worthless in this matter, I opt for a joke. We have a 5 a.m. flight. The flight leaves at 5 a.m. So I joke and say, and this is literally verbatim what I said, well, I don't think we should leave a second after 4:15. Now, mind you, we're in Oakland. SFO, even that early in the morning, is a 20-minute drive. Like, that's if you're hitting no traffic, because as you would that early. And that would get us to the airport roughly as it was, like, taking off. So I thought it was a fairly obvious joke. How did my joke land with you?
I kind of for a moment forgot when we were leaving, and I'm like, oh, okay, 4:15. That's great. So that means, well, I'm not going to go a full hour before that, which is normally what I would want to do. Like if he thinks 4:15 is a reasonable time to leave, I'd probably want to be there an hour earlier. But you know what? I'm going to try and keep it cool. And like, let's say, all right, we wake up at 3:30, out the door by 3:45. And so my thinking was like, yeah, I figured out your game, JuRY. I'm going to pick a half hour before you said.
And so that's the plan. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I mean, that's certainly cutting it a lot closer than Ashley likes to cut it, but that's fine. As long as we're like out the door by 3:45, we'll be there by the bag cutoff of 45 minutes.
Correction, you said this morning and last night bag cutoff is 30 minutes, not 45. Just want to correct this fake news fact before we go on. Continue.
So that may or may not be true. I may or may not. This morning I definitely said it because there was an anxiety monster in my apartment and in the Uber on the way to the airport. Now, even then, I knew if we were going to miss the bag cutoff at 45 minutes, that we were going to barely miss the bag cutoff. And there have been a handful of times. I would say 80% of the times when it's like not super busy and you're in Premiere, which kind of helps, you can finesse the attendants to let your bags on as long as it's not like 20 minutes later, like a half hour later. And so we got to the airport. We went up to also we had one of them chatty Ubers. Oh my God, this lady.
Well, first, and before we got to the airport, like I'm sure you could see the anxiety brewing.
Yes.
The second that I called the first car and was like, they're 10 minutes away. What? Longer than 5 minutes? This is unheard of. Shit, we should have gotten up earlier. Justin, call one too. And then we were able to get one down to like 4 or 5 minutes. And then on the way, we get our driver. God bless.
Who calls before she picks us up to find out where we're going, which is against the rules. She also has like be a 5-star passenger and tips are accepted signs in her car. Like, she was a character. And boy, did she like talking. Which, for the record, probably not the best, not the best strat when you are picking people up at 3:45 in the morning.
Yeah, no. Like, all that I wanted to do was take a nap, which I definitely could not do as long as she was chatting, and instead had to check on my Pokemans.
So we get to the airport. We get to the automated machines because that's the way that, the fastest way that you can beat a bag check-in is by going up to the automated machines and logging in and, entering all your stuff, and you get the little tags from there. And we find out that indeed baggage has closed for our flight. Now, at that moment, on a scale from 1 to 10, please describe your rage for your husband.
I mean, I would say probably a 7 to an 8 because, like, I felt like I should have spoken up earlier and said, like, no, baggage claim is 45 minutes. Alex, one of my coworkers, got, like, screwed up in the cutoff and, like, had to take another flight. Like, so I knew that it was 45, but because you're the professional traveler, I should have pushed against you and said, in your face, Justin. And, like, the second I saw them, I'm like, I fucking knew it. And then I got just grouchy and grumbly and was like,
So you were feeling bad about yourself, and you took it out on me.
"'Cause I'm a 5-star wife. Please rate in the app. Tips are accepted."
So I'm very greatly accepted. You were angry, but I also knew that, like, because there was nobody at the premiere desk, or no, like, other passengers at least. We could kind of finesse it. When we walked up to the guy, what did you think our chances of getting our bags in were?
Significantly less because he was fucking around.
He was fucking around.
Because I had hope when the one guy brought us over, but as soon as we got to the guy at the desk, he was just like being real slow and talking to his friends, and it's like, come on, dude.
But I think that was because he knew that he was just going to push us in, and that's exactly what happened. We got our bags in, and we got to the gate. We got on our flight. We were, they had already boarded all groups and rows, but they do that early just so they can make sure that the first flights are, like, out ASAP. And because nobody wants to sit in an airport at 4 o'clock in the morning, so they might as well get people on the plane. And if they're going to get to sleep, they can get to sleep. And so now we're here. Do you feel like you've learned any lessons on trusting your husband?
No, no. Other than don't believe the first time he says the time flying out because it's probably a joke. So go a minimum hour before that to save the sanity of all parties in the morning.
I was expecting, like, when I was out with John trying to sell Contenders and Action Newses, and I came back and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning because Ashley's a crazy person, and so I was very excited that I only had to wake up. Oh, by the way, I set my alarm wrong. I was gonna wake up at 3:20, and then my alarm was wrong, and it'll go off at 3:20 in the afternoon. But we probably could have been out a little bit earlier, even then, if my alarm had gone off. But it didn't. All right. That's about it. You want to know what? No emails. Fuck it. Here, let's do emails. I have the emails right here. JuRYDaily@gmail.com. Joe writes, I have a bunch of new equipment being delivered to work this week, and I'm being overrun with empty boxes and packaging. As office protocol dictates, I leave my garbage can outside of my door for the night cleaning crew, as well as anything else that I want to throw out. It's customary to leave a note identifying the extra stuff as trash written on the box. Somewhere in my office career, I started writing basura instead of the English word trash because it's very often my cleaning crews spoke Spanish over English. But this week I started thinking, if I'm a janitor, I know the word trash. Why not write trash? So I had to ask myself, am I being condescending? Nay, am I being positioned to be viewed as a racist for assuming that the housekeeping staff must speak Spanish? Curious for your thoughts, as you were the closest thing to a woke millennial for which I have access, and if it helps, I'm Mexican. Joe, I think you're fine. Although if you want to really cover your bases, write it in both, and also 4 other languages, just to make sure that you are going full Epcot on all of your trash. Andrew, we got a few celeb lookalikes. Andrew said that he looks like Tom Green, so much so that I realized one night at peak Tom Green, I decided to pay my bill at a restaurant in cash and write Tom Green loved this dinner on the bill itself. I gave a fat tip, which is to say something because I normally tip well. The look on the server's face as we walked out the door was worth it. He also adds, now I feel old because I went from being told I look like Tom Green to being told, you look like that old dude from Road Trip. These damn kids and their hurtful words. RJ wrote, I've gotten a few different celebrities for most of my life, depending on how well groomed I am. When I was a kid, I was Barry Manilow. In high school, I was Matthew McConaughey. In college, I was young Marlon Brando. Then I kept cycling between Michael Cera and Jesse Eisenberg. When I grow my hair and beard, I get Wolverine. RJ, you have a very diverse look, my friend. And finally, Daniel writes, I'm 21 now, but when I was in middle school, I used to get told that I look like Justin Bieber. This was probably due to all the fact that I had long, swooshy brown hair at the time like he did. I ended up changing my hairstyle about the same time that he switched his hair, circa under the Mistletoe Christmas album for reference. I guess it really does confirm the old saying that you can't escape the Beebs. That's a fact, brother. All right, that about wraps it up for Jury Daily live from the United Club bar. A cheers. In fact, here, let me get my wife to cheers me on mic. I'll see you guys at Dragon Con. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to please down die.
What do you say we both just leave? Why is there more here left to see?
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.